Biscay is a province of Spain located just south of the Bay of Biscay. The name also refers to a historical territory of the Basque Country, heir of the ancient Lordship of Biscay. Its capital city is Bilbao. It is one of the most prosperous and important provinces of Spain as a result of the massive industrialization in the last years of the 19th century and first half of the 20th century. Since the deep deindustrialization of the 1970s, the economy has come to rely more on the services sector. Etymology. It is accepted in linguistics that Biscay is a cognative Bisca, with both place name variants well attested in the whole Basque Country in art meaning low ridge or prominence. Denominations. Biscay. Biscay is the Basque denomination recommended by the Royal Academy of the Basque language, and it is commonly used on official documents on that language. It is also used on documents in Spanish, and it is the most used denomination by the media in Spanish in the Basque Country. It is also the denomination used in the Basque version of the Spanish Constitution and in the Basque version of the Statute of Autonomy of the Basque Country. Biscay is also the only official denomination approved for the historical territory by the Juntas Generales of the province. Vizcaya. Vizcaya is the denomination in Spanish recommended by the Royal Spanish Academy. It is used in non-official documents and, in general, by Spanish speakers. It is also the Spanish denomination used in the Spanish version of the Constitution and in the Spanish version of the Statute of Autonomy of the Basque Country. History. Biscay has been inhabited since the Middle Paleolithic, as attested by the archaeological remains and cave paintings found in its many caves. The Roman presence had little impact in the region, and the Basque language and traditions have survived to this day. Biscay was identified in records of the Middle Ages as a dependency of the Kingdom of Pamplona that became autonomous and finally a part of the Crown of Castile. The first mention of the name Biscay was recorded in a donation act to the monastery of Biscay, located on the Ria of Mundaka. According to Anton Erko, the Vikings had a commercial base from which they were expelled by 825. The Ria of Mundaka is the easiest route to the river Ebro and at the end of it, the Mediterranean Sea in trade. In the modern age, the province became a major commercial and industrial area. Its prime harbour of Bilbao soon became the main Castilian gateway to Europe. Later, in the 19th and 20th centuries, the abundance of prime-quality iron ore and the lack of feudal castes favoured rapid industrialization. Paleolithic. Middle Paleolithic. The first evidence of human dwellings in Biscay happens in this period of prehistory. Mousterian artifacts have been found in 3 sites in Biscay: Bentalupera, Gertsar and Murua. Late Paleolithic Chat-Eperonian culture can be found in Santi-Mamine Cave. The most important settlements by modern humans can be considered the following: Aurignacian culture, Bentalupera, Kursha and Lumentha; Gravitian culture, Santi-Mamine, Bolincoba and Atzara; Solutrean culture, Santi-Mamine and Bolincoba; Magdalenian culture, Santi-Mamine and Lumentha. Paleolithic art is also present. The Bentalupera cave has the oldest paintings, maybe from the Aurignacian or Solutrean period. Bison and bear are the animals depicted together with abstract signs. The murals of Arenazar and Santi-Mamine were created in later periods. In Arenazar, female deer of the dominant motif. Santi-Mamine features bison, horses, goats and deer. EPI Paleolithic. This period is dominated in Biscay by the Azilian culture. Tools become smaller and more refined, and while hunting remains, fishing and seafood gathering become more important. There is evidence of consumption of wild fruits as well. Santi-Mamine is one of the most important sites of this period. Others are arenas are Acheta, Lumantara nearby Arteaga and Santa Catalina, together with Bolincoba and neighbors Libranca. Neolithic. While the first evidences of Neolithic contact in the Basque Country can be dated to the 4th millennium BCE, it was not until the beginning of the 3rd that the area accepted, gradually and without radical changes, the advances of agricultural cultivation and domestication of sheep. Biscay was not particularly affected by this change, and only 3 sites can be mentioned for this period. Arenas are Santimamín and Cobega, and the advances adopted seemed limited initially to sheep, domestic goats and very scarce pottery. Together with Neolithic technologies, megalithism also arrives. It will be the most common form of burial until c. 1500 BCE, Chalcolithic and Bronze Age. While open-air settlements started to become common as the population grew, they still used caves and natural shelters in Biscay in the Chalcolithic and Bronze Age. Hunting game became a less important source of protein, as the people relied on sheep, goats and some bovine cattle. Metallic tools become more common, but stone-made ones are also used. Pottery types shows great continuity until the Belgica makes its appearance. The sites of this period now cover all the territory of Biscay, many being open-air settlements. But the most important caves of the Paleolithic are still in use as well. Iron Age. Few sites have been identified for this period. Caves are abandoned for the most part, but they still reveal some remains. The main caves of prehistory were still inhabited. Roman period. Roman geographers identified 2 tribes in the territory now known as Biscay, the Caristii and Ortregones. The Caristii dwelt in Nuclear Biscay, east of the Firth of Bilbao, extending also into northern Araba and some areas of Gipuzkoa, up to the river Deba. The Ortregones dwelt in the westernmost part of Biscay and Araba, extending also into the provinces of Cantabria, Burgos and La Rioja. Based in toponymy, historical and archaeological evidence, it is thought that these tribes spoke the Basque language. The borders of the Biscayan dialect of Basque seem to be those of the Caristian territory, with an exception of the areas that have lost the old language. There is no indication to resistance to Roman occupation in all the Basque area until the late feudalizing period. Roman sources mention several towns in the area, Flavio Briga and Porta Semanas, though they have not been located. The site of Farua, near Guernica, has yielded archaeological evidence of Roman presence. In the late Roman period, together with the rest of the Basque Country, Biscay seems to have revolted against Roman domination and the growing society organized by feudalism. Middle Ages. In the early Middle Ages, the history of Biscay cannot be separated from that of the Basque Country as a whole. The area was de facto independent, although Visigoths and Franks attempted to assert their domination from time to time. Encounters between the Visigoths and Basques usually led to defeat for the latter. The Visigoths established an outlying post at the later city of Vitoria to counter incursions and the migration of Basques from the coastal regions to the north. In 905, Leone's chronicles defined for the first time the kingdom of Pamplona as including all the western Basque provinces, as well as the Rioja region. The territories that would later constitute Biscay were included in that state. In the conflicts that the newly sovereign kingdom of Castile and Pamplona, Navarre had in the 11th and 12th century, the Castilians were supported by many landowners from La Rioja who sought to consolidate the holdings under Castilian feudal law. These pro-Castilian lords were led by the House of Haro, who were eventually granted the rule of newly created Biscay, initially made up of the valleys of Uribe, Busturia, Vitoria, Marquina, Zornotza and Aracia, plus several towns and the city of Erdwina. It is unclear when this happened, but tradition says that Inigo Lopez was the first Lord of Biscay in 1043. The title to the lordship was inherited by Inigo Lopez's descendants until, by inheritance, in 1370 it passed to John I of Castile. It became one of the titles of the King of Castile. Since then it remained connected to the crown, first to that of Castile and then, from Charles I to that of Spain. As ruler of the crown of Castile, it was conditioned on the lord swearing to defend and maintain the fuero, which affirmed that the possessors of the sovereignty of the lordship were the Biscayans and that, at least in theory, they could refute the lord. The lords and later the kings came to swear the statutes at the Oak of Guernica, where the assembly of the lordship sits. Modern age and the modern age's commerce on took great importance, especially for the port of Bilbao, to which the kings granted privileges in 1511 for trade with the ports of the Spanish Empire. Bilbao was already the main Castilian harbour, from where wool was shipped to Flanders, and other goods were imported. In 1628, the separate territory of Durango was incorporated to Biscay. In the same century, the so-called chartered municipalities west of Biscay were also incorporated in different dates, becoming another subdivision of Biscay, Incartationis. The coastal towns had sizable fleet of their own, mostly dedicated to fishing and trade. Along with other Basque towns of Gipuzkoa and Leibid, they were largely responsible for the partial extinction of North Atlantic right whales in the Bay of Biscay and of the first unstable settlement by Europeans in Newfoundland. They signed separate treaties with other powers, particularly England. After the Napoleonic Wars, Biscay, along with the other Basque provinces, were threatened to have the self-rule cut by the now liberal Spanish Cortes, together with opposing factions that supported different parties for the throne. This desire to maintain foral rights contributed to the success of Carlist wars. The Biscayan government and other Basque provinces supported Carlos V, who represented an autocratic monarch who would preserve tradition. Many of the towns, though, notably Bilbao, were aligned with the liberal government of Madrid. In the end, with victory by anti-Carlists, the wars resulted in successive cuts of the wide autonomy held by Biscay and the other provinces. In the 1850s, extensive prime-quality iron resources were discovered in Biscay. This brought much foreign investment, mainly from England and France. Development of these resources led to greater industrialization, which made Biscay one of Spain's richest provinces. Together with the industrialization, important bourgeois families, such as Ibarra, Chavarri and Leguizamón, developed from the new sources of wealth. The great industrial and financial groups were created. 20th century. During the Second Spanish Republic, the Basque Nationalist Party governed the province. When the Spanish Civil War broke out in 1936, Biscay supported the Republican side against Francisco Franco's army and fascist ideology. Soon after, the Republic acknowledged a statute of autonomy for the Basque Country. Due to fascist control of large parts of it, the first short-lived Basque autonomous community had power only over Biscay and a few nearby villages. As the fascist army advanced westward from Navarre, defenses were planned and erected around Bilbao, called the Iron Belt, but the engineer in charge, José Goycoechea, defected to the fascists, causing the unfinished defenses to be of little value. In 1937, German airplanes under Franco's control destroyed the historic city of Guernica, after having bombed Durango with less severity a few weeks before. Some months later, Bilbao fell to the fascists. The Basque army retreated to Santona, beyond the limits of Biscay. that they surrendered to the Italian forces, but the Italians yielded to Franco. Other Republican forces considered the surrender a betrayal by the Basques. Under the dictatorship of Franco, Biscay and Guipuzcoa were declared traitor provinces because of their opposition and stripped of any sort of self-rule. Only after Franco's death in 1975 was democracy restored in Spain. The 1978 constitution accepted the particular Basque laws, and in 1979 the Statute of Guernica was approved, whereupon Biscay, Araba and Guipuzcoa formed the autonomous community of the Basque Country with its own parliament. During this recent democratic period, Basque Nationalist Party candidates have consistently won elections in Biscay. Recently the foral law was amended to extend it to the towns and the city of Urdwina, which had previously always used the general Spanish civil law. Geography. Biscay is bordered by the community of Cantabria and the province of Burgos to the west, the Basque provinces of Guipuzcoa to the east, and Alava to the south, and by the Cantabrian Sea to the north. Orduna is a Biscayan exclave located between Alava and Burgos provinces. Climate. The climate is oceanic, with high precipitation all year round and moderate temperatures, which allow the lush vegetation to grow. Temperatures are more extreme in the higher lands of Inner Biscay, where snow is more common during winter. The average high temperature in main city Bilbao is between 13 degrees Celsius in January and 26 degrees Celsius in August. Features. The main geographical features of the province are the southern high mountain ranges, part of the Basque Mountains, that form a continuous barrier with passes not lower than 600 meters AMSL, forming the water divide of the Atlantic and Mediterranean basins. These ranges are divided from west to east in Ordunta, Salbada, Gorbi and Urquiola. The middle section, which is occupied by the main rivers valleys, Nervi and Ibezabal and Cadagua. Cadagua runs west to east from Ordunta, Nervi, and south to north from Orduna, and Ibezabal east to west from Urquiola. Oresha River runs northwards from Gorbi and joins Ibezabal. Each valley is separated by medium mountains like Ganicogorta. Other mountains, like Hoized, separate the main valleys from the northern valleys. The northern rivers are Artubai, Oka and Butron. The coast. The main features are the estuary of Bilbao, where the main rivers meet the sea, in the estuary of Guernica. The coast is usually high, with cliffs and small inlets and coves. Administrative divisions. Historically, Biscay was divided into Merindades, which were two, the constituent ones and the ones incorporated later. The constituent ones were Uribe 1, Busturia 2, Marcian of 3, Bedia 4, Amorbit 5, Aracia 6, incorporated later, Durango, Encartera, Orozco, Orduna, some other independent cities and towns. Currently, Biscay is divided into 7 comarca regions, each one with its own capital city, subdivisions and municipalities. These are: Greater Bilbao, usually divided into subregions, Bilbao Left Bank, Uribe Costa, Texorieri Hega Uribe, Mungialde, Encartera, Busturialde, Durangalde, Li Artubai, Aracia Nerbaoi. Demographics. According to the 2010 census, Biscay has a population of 1,155,772 and its population density of 519.9 hab/km, only surpassed by the one of Madrid and Barcelona. In 1981, Biscay was the 5th Spanish province in population, and despite the strong demographic crisis the province has been living since the transition transition it is today the 9th province in population. Government and foral institutions. The government and foral institutions of Biscay, as a historical territory of the Basque Country of the Juntas Generales de Vizcaya in the foral Deputation of Biscay. Juntas Generales. The Juntas Generales of Biscay are a unicameral assembly that has normative authority in the province. Its members, called apoderados, are elected by universal suffrage. The elections are held each 4 years. After the 2015 elections, the configuration of the juntas is the following. Foral Deputation. The foral deputation has an executive function and reglementary authority in Biscay. The foral deputation is configured by a general deputy, who currently is José Luis Bilbao and who was chosen by the Juntas Generales and by the rest of deputies. Transportation. Roads. Biscay is connected to the rest of provinces by 2 main highways: the Cantabric Highway, which connects Bilbao and Durango with the French border, with accesses in Eibar, Zarautz and Donostia, and the Basque Aragonese Highway, which connects Bilbao with Zaragoza via Tudela, Calahorra and Logroño. As well, many secondary roads connect Bilbao with the different towns located in the province. Air Biscay's main and only airport is Bilbao Airport, which is the most important hub in northern Spain, and the number of passengers using the new terminal continues to rise. It is located in the municipalities of Loiu and Sondica. Commuter Rail. Biscay has different commuter rail services, operated by different companies. Cercanías. Bilbao is a commuter rail service. Cercanías offered by Renfe, the national rail company. It connects Bilbao and its neighborhoods with other municipalities and regions inside Biscay, like Baracaldo, Santurtzi, Portugalete, Musquis, Orduna and others. Euskotren has 3 commuter rail lines in the province. All of them start in Bilbao. One connects the city and Greater Bilbao with the comarca of Durangalde and finished in Donostia. Other line connecting Greater Bilbao with Busturialde, another serving the Texorieri region. FEVE also offers a commuter rail service connecting the regions of the Greater Bilbao with Encarterra. Long-distance railways. Bilbao Abando is Biscay's main train station, with regular trains to other Spanish provinces like Burgos, Madrid and Barcelona offered by Renfe. FEVE also offers long-distance trains to Cantabria and the province of Leon in the Castile and Leon community. The Basque-Country is the name given to the future high-speed rail that will connect the 3 cities of the Basque Country, Bilbao, Donostia and Vitoria-Gasteiz in Álava. Metro Bilbao is a metro system serving the city of Bilbao and its metropolitan area, the Greater Bilbao region. It connects the city with other municipalities like Basauri, Baracaldo, Santurtzi and Getxo, among others. Tourism. Biscay's capital city, Bilbao, is famous for the Guggenheim Museum Bilbao and for its estuary, monuments and places of general interest. Casa de Juntas and the Tree of Guernica, both in Guernica. Casa de Juntas of Avellaneda in the Encarterra region. Pos Alegua Cave in Carranza near Balmaceda. Vizcaya Bridge, Santi Mamin and the Forest of Oma. Euskalduna Conference Center and Concert Hall in Bilbao. Gaztelugatsa, Erdebe Biosphere Reserve.